everyone. How are you? I'm Dominic Patten from Deadline Hollywood. Thank you for joining. Happy Thanksgiving, I guess. I guess, kind of. I love this show. TV critics aren't supposed to admit they love network shows nowadays. You're supposed to be all cool about it and say like, oh, it's only if it's on Netflix or cable do I care, right? It's bullshit. I think that there is a great skill to network sitcoms because you don't have the ability to drop an F-bomb, you don't have the ability for nudity and all violence and stuff. You have to, within certain constraints, tell a story. And it has to be an entertaining one week after week after week for millions of people. It's a great art. And tonight, joining us is we have some great artists. So without further ado, I should take this microphone because can you hear me anyways? I know, everybody can, I know. It's the loud voice and it gets me in trouble. Please allow me to introduce the cast of The Unicorn. First of all, Mr. Omar Miller, Michaela Robinson. So you guys are there. Mr. Walton Goggins, Miss Michaela Watkins, and Mr. Rob Corddry.
It's no, he just told me he directed me this. Yes. I went over there. He told me.
And as you can see, the Ballers reunion party has started. Exhausted. So we're going to get right past that. So is there going to be a Ballers movie? Yes or no?
Oh.
No. All right. Omar?
Is there?
I don't really have any different information than Rob does.
I'll do it.
All right.
Do it.
All right, there we go.
If there is, we'll be in it.
So we broke some news. Great. All right. So The Unicorn debuted on September 26th on CBS. It was given a further full season order on October 22nd. So you guys are now doing how many episodes?
How many you got?
18.
How many you got?
18 episodes. And how far along are you guys?
We're on 13.
Well,
13
literally
right
on
now.
13 because you guys were filming today.
That's
In fact,
right.
you were your last one on tonight.
I was the, yes,
Okay, last man standing.
last man standing phone call scene, meaning I get to act all by myself. Super fun.
So sad, so sad.
Super
Such a
fun.
victim.
So
What are you being
sad,
a
so
victim for right now?
It's so hard, guys, being an actor.
Acting alone.
So hard.
Who are you talking to tonight?
Talking to, what?
Who are you talking to
Yeah,
tonight?
you.
Who's in the?
Who
Oh,
does
to
this
me.
go out-
Yeah, thanks
who
for
does this
doing the
go out
off
to?
camera.
Ah, awesome. That's great.
All right, so guys, unless I'm mistaken, aren't all of you new to network sitcoms?
No.
No.
All right. Let's hear it. So, educate me.
In your face.
Yeah.
You are mistaken.
Yeah. Are you new to interviewing?
Yes, I am.
Oh, drop
Oh my
the
God.
water.
Dominic.
This is a very special cast, guys. We're very special.
Okay, so I'm going to trick. The
There's a mean
the
streak
easiest
on the
trick in
cast of The
interviewing
Unicorn.
anyone is you ask a question you know the fucking answer to because then they talk about it, right?
Ah.
And then that allows the people who are new to it to jump the fuck in.
Oh,
So,
okay.
nicely.
Oh,
So,
a whole plan.
yes, I had a plan. Thank you very much. So glad the water bottle didn't break.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that would have sucked. So
Well,
There are raincoats under the first row.
exactly. It's
It's
like
like
going to
Blue
Blue
Man
Man,
for-
but different.
yeah.
Yes, exactly.
What was your network television show?
Trophy Wife.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
A wonderful show starring Bradley Whitford, Malin Ackerman, Marcia Gay Harden, myself, Natalie Morales, Albert Sy. You really can't get a better. Well, oh yes, you can. Excuse me. We did it. It was an ABC single season gem, critical darling,
Oh.
network failure.
We'll continue with the word gem. Yes, gem. Mylan, you know, this show, and you guys, obviously, you guys saw tonight's, you saw the Thanksgiving episode tonight. By the way, what did you think?
Because we haven't.
Yeah.
Is it good? Great.
Full of turkey. Full of turkey. And Wade trying to do way too many things, clearly, yes. Some of
yeah, I
them
think
well,
he's
some of them not
always-
so much, right?
Yeah. I think he's always trying to do like a little. I think he does some things not well and other things not really well. He's kind of right there in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mylan, I wanted to get a sense from you. You know, this show, in the short time it's been on the air for this first season, it seems to have it struck a chord with a lot of people. And I don't always think, and I don't think for the obvious reason of Wade, the sort of the premise of Wade's character, but more so for all of you guys and the extended family support and how I feel that everyone kind of sees some of themselves in those characters somehow or some way. I want to get a sense of the kind of response you've gotten and how it impacts you as an actor.
Well, first of all, none of us are acting, so I think that's probably why it's
second
impactful.
setup question.
I think it's probably why it's pretty impactful. But for me, like getting tweeted by Leslie Jones about how she loves my character, I'm like, yo, you know who I am? Like, that's awesome. I think it's funny because I think people expect me to come out the gate like Michelle, and I'm a little bit more smiley than the character that I play. Well, when I'm not working, smiley than the character that I play. So,
I would like to ask, is there a group consensus to that?
Rob does not get to talk and answer that question.
So sad.
That's fair. It is fair.
So I used to have scenes by himself.
But I don't know how it impacts me besides people just say I'm relatable in some way. I remind them of their aunt or their cousin or their sister or whatever the case may be. It rings authentic to people, and I think that that's what we love about what we do, right?
Now, Rob and Omar, I mean, I did joke about it to begin with, but obviously you guys, it literally came right off after the series finale of Ballers and right into Unicorn. In fact, was it even maybe a little bit of an overlap?
Like a 2 or 3
there
week
was a little bit of
overlap.
an overlap. For you guys, I mean, look, part of being an actor is working, clearly. But for you guys, this was a real shift. What did you think that you guys were able to bring to this, coming from the history that you'd had on the previous show to come to something like this, which is very different, and yet you guys just seem to be like you were doing it for, this isn't season 1, but season 14.
It almost seems like Omar and I are really excited to do scenes together because we never got to in Ballers. No, once. We had one scene, it was in the first season, and we improvised it because we like each other. We've never, so no, now we're just like, we're making up for lost time.
Now, how much improvisation do you guys do on the Unicorn? Oh, answer.
A lot actually.
Give us a sense, how does that work, Michaela?
Well, somebody throws out a line and you just yes and that. No,
Give him a
She's just gonna razz me all night,
I'm
right?
not.
You got
All
on her
night.
bad side
She's
somehow.
holding the water bottle, like waiting to drop it again, like waiting.
Give me an example, Michaela.
Okay, set me up, Rob.
Oh, Monsignor, your rocket ship is ready.
Oh, wait a minute. I ordered it in gray. This is copper.
Yes and, you see? Yes and.
Which is exactly how long married couples speak to each other
right.
this
Yeah,
way.
Anyways, Dominic, with these jerks. So what the way that we get to improv, which is a lot of fun, is because the writers are very open. We actually had this situation happen this morning between Michaela and I, where we improvised this scene and the head writer was there and he was fully open to it. And it's a real testament to the confidence that they have and the producers have in us as a cast, and the humility that they have as writers. Because I've been on a lot of sets where the writer is so full of his own words that he feels like they're precious and you can't change them, although they may not fit properly coming out of your mouth. In this scenario, everybody, it really feels like a collaboration. And that's, to my opinion, really one of the highs of going to work.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of speaks to, you know, from the top to the bottom, everybody is in the service of telling the story the best way possible. And when I say, you know, nobody's phoning it in, I don't even know how to phone it in. Like apathy is death for me personally. I just wouldn't show up to work if that's how I felt. But I'm talking about the people that are in charge of, you know, the props department. Our DP, Craig, craft service, everybody is there kind of in the service of the story. And there's like a level of commitment and excitement that, you know, I've never done really network television. I mean, I did 90210 29 years ago, you know, and I barked
What'd you
like
play?
a seal. I played a seal boy. I was like a dude who
Which
I had no
90210?
line.
What was the voice for
I'm gonna
Seal
look
Boy?
that
It's
up.
like,
That wasn't
it was
nice.
something like
I have to say,
Arf,
anything
arf.
that was done during the George
was kind of
H.W.
it.
Bush administration
kind of it.
doesn't actually
hoping
count.
for.
Yeah, but no, but everybody, you know, across the board is it really believes that they believe in the story.
But
You
what
know,
is that like for you? Because yeah, you're right. It was, you know, you've Justified, The Shield, Sons of Anarchy. You've been in Hateful Eight. This is a big departure from you, or is it?
Yeah, I think it's a very big departure for me.
Really?
Yeah,
Because I think
yeah,
one thing as an
yeah.
actor that you've always brought to your roles is a level of intensity. And I think that's certainly something we're seeing. What Wade is going through is
you know what, you said this-
is an
Go ahead.
emotional intensity.
It is,
and
yeah.
and I feel like part of the, I don't want to say gimmick because it's the wrong word, but part of the trick here is like, it's like people dealing with postpartum depression. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of know that, like, at some point there's a boomerang happening here.
Yeah.
My theory is, as a fan of the show, it's going to be the girls. The girls are going to say, "Daddy, like, sorry," or in I believe it was episode 1 or what have you, where one of the girls had a boy over. Like, they're going to age, and like maybe it's them dating, not you dating, that becomes the issue. Like, there are consequences that are coming out of these lifestyle choices.
Yeah. I mean, I dig you, man.
know.
He's an old friend of
You're
mine.
really good
Dominic's
at
an old
this.
friend of mine, and
I know.
I've known
This
him
is
for
the
a
other
really
trick.
long
We're
time.
actually friends.
Yeah, and you
We,
know,
by the way, but we also are friends because we go to the same barber.
Yeah, we are.
Tip your host, ladies
We're
and
the
gentlemen.
same
He'll be here
species.
all week.
We can actually do Seal Boy naturally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'd be curious to hear, like, because I mean, I've known Omar for a long time. You know, we worked together. We did a Spike Lee movie together almost 18 years ago, and Rob and I, we've never worked together before, but you know, we hung out. We had some really good times in New Orleans about 10 years ago when I was doing Django.
So
and
I
he was
hear.
doing
I
another
don't
movie.
remember really.
Yeah, you don't remember they were great.
Yeah.
But no, but I don't know. I think for me it's like working without like language, right? I wasn't okay. I'll say this really quickly. When we were doing the pilot, when we
we're
were
here all night. We're like
oh,
we're like
fantastic.
Celine. We're like
Well, we're
no,
down.
when
We
we
got 5:30 a.m.
we're like
time.
Celine Dion in Vegas.
Deadline.
We are here all night.
when we were doing the pilot, there's a scene in the pilot where we were living off the food in our refrigerator, like in our freezer, right? And then I'm feeding my daughters this food, and it's a big part of the story, I think, for all of us. And I'm like getting the food out of the freezer, like in many different ways. And John Hamburg, our director, gave me a screwdriver at one point, and I just go over and I'm just picking the ice out, and I'm getting the food out. And he said, "Okay, cut. Come here, Walton." Yeah, okay, what's going on? He said, "Do you think that you could do that in a way that doesn't look like you're responsible for killing your wife?" And I was like, I got so insecure. It's like, well, that's just my,
cliffhanger.
that's just my natural. That's my natural face. Like I don't know. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it like this. Okay, yeah. I mean, they're like, for me, they're like, I don't really kind of understand this world. And then eventually, when we were doing the pilot, I just said, you know what, I can only do it this way. This is the only way that I can do it. I don't care if it gets picked up, if it doesn't go. That's irrelevant to me. The only thing that matters to me is this group of people that we've assembled that I care greatly about, and that when I say I begged literally every person up here. I
It's
didn't know
true.
Maya Lynne before, but to be in this, and that was from the very get-go. The very first conversation we all had as a cast together was, we're going to be as truthful as we possibly can in this medium. It's not going to be just about me. It's about community. It's about love. It's about kindness. It's about not having all the right answers. It will, in a cynical world, it will not be cynical. It'll be earnest, and it'll be kind, and it'll be from the heart. And when we feel pain, we're not going to shy away from that. And that's what we've done. And I'm really proud of that. So I think it has given all of us up here an opportunity. I mean, these guys are they're ballers, literally and figuratively. CBS has given us permission, and these writers have given us permission and honored their word to lean in to these experiences in a way that very few people are afforded the opportunity to do in network television, certainly in the half-hour space. And I'm just so grateful, and every day I love it. Do you guys think I'm intense? On set? Am I intense?
Yep.
But not in a bad way.
No.
No, in a great way, actually.
Yeah.
You totally, not only do you ground the show, but you ground us. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
for sure.
Because, like,
You do.
Because Rob is, not, Rob is.
No, let her talk.
He's a very,
This is.
he's a very,
She's
he's
probably
a-
right.
He's a very talented, very silly man.
Yes.
And so am I.
You're a very silly man.
Very
It's
silly
a
man.
coming out party
but-
for Michaela
but-
Again,
Watkins.
no
But the
one
truth
is
is-
acting on this show.
But the truth is, like, I feel like we all look to you as our touchstone. Like, you ground us, even though the premise of the show is that you need us to ground you as the unicorn because your life has been totally up. There's been so much upheaval and change, but it's funny, and it's actually the inversion, I feel like, in the making of this show, because I didn't know where the show lived until I saw you do the scene with you, and I was
That's
like,
exactly
oh,
right. Yeah.
I guess we're doing this show. Oh, this show is like meets at the intersection between sweet and funny, and I don't think I've done a shitload of stuff. I don't think I've ever done that intersection point before.
There were parts in Casual for sure. Definitely.
But Casual.
And by the way, if you haven't seen, how many of you have seen Casual? Yeah, you watch it again. It's amazing, amazing. You're amazing in that show.
But I wouldn't. I mean, it's a lot
were
of things,
points.
but I don't know if like.
I think there were points with you and
Sweet
you
is
and
the place
you and your
you
brother. There were.
Oh, yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I guess part of that too is how many of you are regular watchers of the Unicorn? Okay, great. If the awesome thing is you can
The
I saw
majority. The
5
majority.
hands.
That's
How
so
many
great.
are
It's so
going to be-
fantastic.
You can, yes, exactly, and you can
You got-
stream what I'm about to talk about.
You're about to
Because
get the
there's
cable
actually-
version
There was an
of Walton
episode. I often think with sitcoms, like I'm a TV critic. Sitcoms are very hard to review because you can say, okay, like I've seen the first episode or I've seen the first 2 episodes, right? But you don't know where that's going to go, right? Drama is different because they're planting seeds and you can tell how they're going to work out, right? But there was an episode. I want to say it was 2 weeks ago, but it might have been last week. It's The Captain. Yes.
Hey, Captain
Omar,
Crystal.
Omar, do you want to tell us what that's all about for the people who don't know?
All right, so we had an episode that was called 3 Men Out. And the basic premise of the episode was Wade is trying to go out. Wade is Walton, the unicorn, is trying to go out and date, but in the old-fashioned way. He wants to go to a bar. He wants to meet people, blah, 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 blah. And what Forrest and I do is we decide as his wingmen that he needs help. And I have been spouting my...
And actually, you get permission.
Yeah, well, that's what I
you
was
get
going.
permission.
I have been bumping my gums forever about how I was the king of the club. I was a Mac. I was this. I was that. And times have changed. Now I'm married. I got 4 kids. And I run it by my wife. And she's like, yeah, get out of here. Go do it. And it really hurts my character's feelings that she doesn't see him as a threat to do anything but throw out his back. So the episode mostly takes place actually out at the bar with the guys together, and it's exactly what Walton was talking about. It's honest conversations that I just turned 41 years old that I have with a lot of my friends at my age about a lot of different stuff, and even like the episode that we read today. The honest conversations about a lot of issues that are going on that aren't necessarily going for a yuck humor. And in this situation, you will laugh because they gave me a great character named Captain Crystal to play. And the captain is here to party and dance.
What I loved about that episode, and I hope all you guys will talk about this, because what I love is I felt like that's where the unicorn, I'm mixing my metaphors clearly, but really bloomed. I felt like that was like, okay, I've been watching, I guess it was 4 episodes up until then, and then I felt like, oh, now the show's arrived, like, and now it's arrived. And for instance, like for you guys, for your characters, there is a whole dynamic there that really changes, especially when you're out at the bar and you realize what that actually means for your characters and what that means for your marriage and your commitments.
Well, I mean, I think these two have a trap in a lot of sitcoms where they can be like the like this guy, and he's like, oh, this lady, this ball and chain, and I think they have a very sex positive, very loving.
They're down to
They
fuck.
couldn't be more different, but they're so right for each other.
About that, very.
Yeah, they're done.
Wouldn't have said it that way on CBS.
No, it's not made it in an episode yet. DTF.
Well, kind of at the end of the Captain episode, there is definitely when you go home.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of love there. Just
of
gonna
love.
put it that way. A lot of love.
It
in
is,
that
but it's very sweet. Like they don't, I think there's been a couple episodes where we're just like, "Do you want to?" And it's like,
Yeah.
"I'll pencil you in." Okay.
Yeah, we're always
let's
having
just do it
sex,
quick.
and it's always like,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's just because we want to, and sometimes it's because, hey, we got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes in this upcoming episode, I don't want to give too much away, but it's because I'm I'm not like I'm out of sorts.
You're depressed.
I'm depressed, and so that's what he likes doing when he's depressed.
And I like how Delia's just like, okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's like rare. I don't think it falls into tropes and traps. That,
What I think's great about it is actually I think it's almost. I mean, look, maybe this is just me reading into it, and you guys can say that's bullshit. Like, but I feel like it starts off with them being like, oh, as you said, oh, ball and chain, this and that, and then you realize, like people in real life, because we're all have like seen those movies or seen those shows, you're mocking the thing about the like. There's the multi levels of it, and I think part of what makes the Unicorn work, and maybe this is 'cause I'm an old man, but like it's a comedy for grown-ups. Who are dealing with real grown-up stuff, the most grown-up of stuff in Wade's case.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. It's also, at least, I mean, I've been kind of been out in the world a little bit. I mean, we've been working a lot, but I have been out there, and in some ways have become like a repository for sadness, man. Like they're like the driver driving me home last time I came home from LAX, you know, stopped like halfway, and he said, "Look, I want to thank you for your show." I said, "What's going on, man? Like, what's happening?" He said, I lost my wife, you know, a year ago." And then he pulled over on the side of the road. We're out and we're hugging, you know, on the side of La Cienega. And it's like, okay, well, tell me, like having this whole fucking experience. And it was like this last episode in the Unicorn when we were on the plane, because we still have 30 minutes to drive together, like before I get home. And then we get home, and then he steps out and he says, "And then I lost my dog." And then, but it became kind of this whole kind of thing, and people are now kind of coming up and saying, "Hey, man, this happened to me," or "This happened to me," and I don't know. I think that's when you know you're doing something positive in the world, and I just think that the world is cynical right now, and I think it's too fucking ironic, to be quite honest with you. And I participated in some shows, as have the other people up here, that have done it as well, if not better than most people. And I think that we're at a point in our culture, at least for me, and how I wanted to express myself as an artist was like, give me the limitations. Like, it's hard.
100%.
It's so
Absolutely.
much
100%.
harder than anything that I have ever done to play someone so close to
because of the you know standards and practices of a network.
Oh yeah, and I mean we have 22 minutes. You know, we have 22 minutes to tell this story, and the standards and practices, and what the things that you can't get away on cable. That you can't get away with on cable, that you can't get away on network television. And so it's like, okay, well then let's take all of those tropes and all of those tricks away, and let's just distill it down to, let's just have honest conversations that are about real life. And then I'll be quiet. I don't know. For me, at this point in my life, I mean, I'm 48 years old. I've got a kid who's about to turn 9. I've gone through a lot of shit in my life, as we all have. And I've said this in interviews before, that's the great equalizer, right? That's what we all have in common, regardless of what God you believe in, what sex you are, wherever the fuck you are from. We're all the same when it comes to struggle. We all have pain in our lives. And the thing that I love about this show, and I love about like HBO shows or FX shows, and those are friends of mine. These are high stakes games. Most people will never live the life of Vic Mackey. Like, that's not your life.
And that's
but
a
you
good
will live
thing,
yeah,
by the way.
exactly. And that's where we all get our entertainment from. But there is a part, and there should be a part reserved throughout your week or your month where, and I think that's what I was betting on by doing this, that if you say this honestly, that it's like, I just want to see my life reflected and my struggles. And it's like, I'm just trying to take my fucking kid to school, you know, and I'm exhausted and I'm alone and I'm trying to figure this out. And if you get that right and you tell that in a way that is honest and funny, then I think that you can really touch people. And that's why this is working. Yeah. If that makes sense.
But no, you're not intense at all. Well, not at all.
Part of that, though, and I'm literally going to ask everyone except Walton, who's already given the answer. I'll start with you, Rob. Is what attracted you to wanting to do a network show? I mean, you know, look, the easy answer is, look, it's the dough, man, of course, right? But it's a different type, but it's different, and it's you know, there are limitations that all of you have come from.
They pay us in Chinese yen.
Well, Walton, I didn't understand these limitations, as Walton puts it, until I got there. And that was something that if I had thought about it before, I would have been I don't know if afraid of is the right word, but definitely like wary of, or at least like mourning that tool. But boy, I'm on the same page with Walton that I love it. I love, like today I improvised a line where I called myself a stupid crap, and I was like, is that okay? Is that like, I felt like it was too much, you know? And I love having that, like that voice and that, like, because now I get to play in this size circle, you know, and it's better, and I can be as big as the circle. You know what I mean?
As an artist.
As an artist, yeah.
As an artist, I like it.
It's so easy.
It feels like for all of you who are experienced, and I'm not using the word experience as a metaphor for saying older. I'm actually using it as experience. It feels like, you know, you can do Hot Tub Time Machine, you can do The Daily Show, you can do Casual, you can do Justified, you can do Ballers, you can do anything like that. But you reach a point where it's like, I'm good at what I do, and I want to show as many people as I can how good I am at what I do.
Yes, and also frankly, it was Walton. I will do whatever he says, forever, because
Don't laugh, I've done that. Trust me.
yeah, I will do it. He said he told me what kind of show this was going to be, and he said we're gonna fight for this kind of show. We're gonna do our thing no matter what. And he described what that thing was, and he didn't. I don't even think he got the whole description out before I understood it, and I was like, absolutely, I'm in. You know, I just felt comfortable and safe. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Michaela?
Well, I mean, I knew what I was getting into because I'd done a network show, and this was not what I was going to get into. Like, Casual had just ended, and the bed wasn't cold yet. You know what I mean? It was like one of the best lovers I've ever had. And I just was not ready. I mean, I was ready to leave Valerie behind, but I didn't know what was going to come next, because that show for me, for a woman in her 40s, and to get to do what I got to do, I was like, I don't know.
You did it so amazingly well.
Oh God,
Again,
thank you.
Watch Casual.
Thank you. But I didn't know how to follow that up, you know? And this was nowhere on my radar. And then I get a call from Walton, and I have to say, I read the script and I was like, cool, yeah, this is unique for network. All right, I'm curious to hear what he has to say, even though I already know my answer. By the time I got off the phone with him, you guys, he made such quick work of me. I was like, let me make some phone calls. Let me read it again. I think, is this the thing? I don't know what it was. I just felt, I've done my whole career on intuition, you know, where I just, my manager or my agent has said, like, I don't think you, and I'm like, I'm going to write that thing anyway. And then, you know, it gets made. It's like, who knows, you know? And this was this intuition that was just pulling me. And I was
called
like,
her 10 times if it wasn't 15.
No. Yeah. But he was, Walton, you just heard him. I mean, if he started a call, y'all would join, right? That's like, I think we agree. So it was like that. I was just like, I don't know what this guy's going to make, but him at the helm, I'm in for the ride. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm going to carve out my place on the ship, but I'm getting on that ship, and it's because of you. It's because of you. And I'm grateful. Like, I love my job. So intuition, guys, that's my point.
Mylan, how about for you? Was there an element of intuition, or was there just?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of everything. Look, I came from a show that had 31 years of history that was iconic, that when I was a little girl, I wished that I could sit around the kitchen table that I ended up sitting around. But I was also the third person to play that character, Gina Williams-Connor on The Connors, part of Roseanne. And I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted to have a say and a spark in who I was as a character. What I loved about her was that she had 4 kids. What I loved about her is that she's a stay-at-home mom. what I love about her is that she is so unconventionally played by me, if I can say that about myself, that she's relatable to the point where you think she is your auntie or your sister. She's very familiar to you. And I wanted to be able to play with these guys. When it came to me, it literally came to me on a Friday, and by Saturday night, they all said yes. And by Sunday, I was sitting in front of a network, so doing a table read for CBS. So I like to tell people that you don't necessarily have to be a name in this business. All the people who tell you that you do, you don't. Because when the right project and the right people come, and it's your time, and that opportunity is there, seize it, and nobody can take it from you. Thank you.
You know, we talked a little bit about your character's relationship, but you guys, and Mylin, you know, obviously you introduced some of this, and we've seen it here in the show. You guys have 4 kids, you're a stay-at-home mom, and all those things that I'm not trying to jump through as to paraphrase. But I want, from the two of you, finding this role and finding the way in which you want these characters to be portrayed, you want these characters to be a part of this story and their own story. What is that process like for the two of you?
You know, I found that the older I get, the more fickle I am about the whole thing, because I was actually hesitant to join up because we had 4 kids, because it's hard to work with children and it's exhausting to work with children. But I was very interested in
They always say it's one of the things you shouldn't work with, that and...
But they pumpkin, so when they're done, you're done.
Then there's that. But for me, you know, one of my brothers passed away a few years ago, and the waves and the way that ripples through people's lives, I never really saw properly represented in a comedic format. And the people in my family are hilarious, and there's a lot of laughs at my dead brother's expense, and you know, which actually is cathartic for all of us. And that, with the history that I had with the people on stage, you know, I thought that there was something there that could be interesting within that bubble of the standards and practices of the limitations. Because for me, I'm coming from a show that is as vulgar as it gets, whether it's the sex, the language, the whole song and dance. And my character on the show, I had to do a lot of fighting for my guy to be separate from that part of the group because he was the family guy. So, you know, I think now with what we're doing on the day-to-day, it puts us in a position that, just like Mylin said, you want to represent the kind of people that you have either encountered in the world or that you know well, like your aunts and your uncles and your sisters and your brothers. And that's something that they give us the opportunity to play with. I mean, I have a brother with 5 little kids. He had 5 little kids. They're, you know, they've grown up now. But I have a brother with 5 kids. And so a lot of the stuff that he used to complain about all the time, either about his wife or about his kids, I now get to interpret, you know, through the character and through our relationship.
Do you guys, Omar, what kind of reaction have you gotten from people? Just around, like, you know, Walton talked about the driver, talked about, have people come up to you and said, like, I know that guy. I feel that guy.
You know, the best compliments that I've gotten from this show are people who come up to me and say, hey, man, I actually like the unicorn. Like people who either I know or don't know, who felt like they were going to have to lie to me or that they were going to have to support just because that's like your friendship or family code. Like, yeah, okay, I'll put it on the DVI play and put it on mute while I go cook my rice or something like that. But the people who were actually like, hey, man, you know what? I watched that show, man. That's really good. It's funny. Wow, man, that was really funny the other night. There's a surprise because I think along the lines of what everybody said, we're getting to try stuff and do stuff that everybody isn't afforded the opportunity to do on network television, and not right now or hardly ever. Yeah. And with that, there's with the way that it's shot, the way that it's cut, the way that it's delivered, we're creating something that people are identifying with. So for me, the reviews or the interactions have been overwhelmingly positive. The only downsides I get are like the Russian bots on Twitter who We're like,
Oh yeah, that's it.
we're like the unicorn. Call Putin. I'm like, what does that have to do? But I don't really count those, so I guess we're doing all right.
I was just going to say that I had this weird incident where my husband didn't believe me when we started dating. I was like, oh, I don't watch TV. He goes, what? And I go, and then as we were dating, he's like, you really don't watch TV? And I go, no, I really don't. And but I do. You know, I watch my shows, but I get really into a show. So it's been mostly of the streaming variety because I don't have a hookup to a network. Then I had an incident where I got an infection. I had to go to the hospital. I was in the hospital for like 3 days. And I was so scared. And all I wanted to watch was back-to-back Seinfeld, Friends, How I Met Your Mother, everything. I just watched sitcom back-to-back, and it was like the most soothing, happy, wonderful place ever. And I came out of the hospital like, I forgot how much I love sitcoms. Like, I love them. They make me so happy. And I don't think it was an accident that I think that had that love for half-hour comedy, and just like I got to have a break from my whatever it was, the burdens, you know, to go invest in these people. And I cared about them, and it made me laugh, and they made me cry, and I just fell in love with sitcoms. I remembered my love for sitcoms, and I don't think it's by accident that happened and then this happened, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at the ratings for you guys, your ratings on live plus same day are pretty good, but your delayed viewing ratings are very strong, and seeing really good double-digit rises for CBS, because I think that is part of it. I think we all have changed the way we watch things. I mean, honestly, a lot of us watch it on these little things which are being plugged in the green room right now. But you know but there's a reality to the fact is that people still want that. So, to that, round robin, favorite sitcom ever.
Mad About You.
Nicely done, because they're back in 2 days on Spectrum.
Can't believe it.
It's really good.
I can't believe it.
I wish I could resurrect this one. Taxi is, to me, is the all-time
Taxi's a good one.
best
Taxi's a good one.
forever
Taxi's a good
sitcom.
one.
For me, it's like it's all goes back to my childhood, you know, and at 7:35 it was Sanford and Son. Like that was my thing.
You don't have to switch. You can come
You
at it
big
for-
dummy, Walton.
Yeah.
I feel so much pressure. Like I can't think of one sitcom right now. I'm like, it's test taking day, and I'm crashing and burning. Favorite sitcom?
This is where you find out Mylan's your Russian bot.
Yeah.
He's the one that's been running me down.
Ironically enough, probably Roseanne. Growing up, yeah.
Why?
Because I felt like I knew them. Being from the Midwest, growing up, working class, I felt like I understood them better than I did the Cosbys.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a part of the Cosby family, but I felt like I understood.
Not so much now.
Roseanne. Well,
We're all that
Can't really
generation
front on the
without-
Cosby Show, though. You can have your feelings about Bill, but you can't front on the Cosby Show. Just not.
All right, so
But for me, you know what? I mean, Sanford and Son is way up there, but I'm probably going to go with the Jeffersons. Either the Jeffersons or Good Times.
Yeah.
Both of them were tremendous shows
Works of
that
art.
were on the East Coast that I had never been to. But the people, my parents were dry cleaners, so they felt like all of them felt like people I knew very well.
see, mine is the Jeffersons growing up, Good Times growing up, but Mad About You
As an adult.
because when I was a grown up and I grew up in New York, so I actually lived up the street from where they lived. And it was that cool thing where because it was only like, that show went off the air in 1999. I mean, Bill Clinton was still president. Like, it was like, there were only 3 things on TV and this vague thing called HBO that your rich uncle had, and so you kind of related to it, right? You know?
Because I was just in New York City, and and these guys, and that show was starting right when I got to New York City, and I lived that whole show with my girlfriend who I came to New York with. And so we were very much related, just her and I, very much related to that show. But I also want to say the Happy Days, too. Yeah. Just because. I know.
But that's the thing is, I think that, I find this as a TV critic. People like it, they'll say like, oh, so name your 10 shows. And immediately someone will prompt the question with like, oh, like Game of Thrones. So they always say a drama. Like dramas are how we discuss television, how we discuss movies in some ways. I mean, Mindy Kaling, for instance, made this movie. It's on Amazon actually, and it's great, called Late Night with her and Emma Thompson, right? And it's a fantastic. And what's fantastic about it is Mindy obviously really loves classic comedy movies of the 80s. And she's like, I'm going to make a movie like that, but it's going to take place today. And I'm going to shake it up by doing that. And there's an art to that. It's like what all of you guys have talked about working within the confines. Like you kind of, I feel all of you are so accomplished. But I feel like I'm seeing some of the best work you've ever done. And he knows that I love all these guys, but him and I have been friends for a while, and he knows I love his work. But I do feel that. I feel like when people have to be like, you know what, I can't, as I said earlier, I can't drop every F-bomb, we can't whip out nakedness, we can't have a knife throwing around and cut off people's heads when we don't like them, and we've got 2 little kids, and I want to talk about that.
7.
Yeah, well,
7.
yeah, exactly. You've got that too, because you've got this, you've got the 5 of you, but then you've got this whole other, I don't want to say chorus, but this whole other thing that's everything you guys do is going to impact on them. And so to that, and Lynne talks to this about a little bit, working with the 4, you lovingly called them pumpkins, but you've got the 2, and what's all that about for you guys?
Well, I have a child. No, I absolutely love it. I have I guess an almost 9-year-old, and I love how I feel. I think we all do, because the tenor on the set, the tone on set, the mood on set is very different when you have 6 kids running around, and all of the conversations that kind of happen on the side. It's like Noah, Devin, who plays their child, is just wonderful. He's so wonderful, and Ruby J, who plays my daughter, and Mackenzie Moss. If you just get them one-on-one and you just get a different way of kind of looking at the world for a minute. It's very refreshing. And they only can work 8 hours, so you got to make your day. You're revolving around their schedule.
Now that's something to talk about. You guys film over on the Paramount lot, so kind of up the street and over. Walk us through, because today you guys were in production, right? So walk us through what that's like, and if you can individually, give us a sense of how that's different from stuff you've done before. And I know clearly on the Connors and clearly when you were on network, but to give us a sense of how you find or don't find it different than other things you've done. Because this is, you go in and do a job.
Well, Michaela and Lynne show up at about 4:30 in the morning. Yeah. And then we stroll in at about 7.
So you guys are basically hosting the Today Show, really.
we have wine. No, I'm kidding.
And I don't know how different that is, but yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can answer the question. Anybody else?
It feels pretty standard to how you shoot. The women show up earlier because we live in a very inequitable, sexist society, and then the men show up and saunter in and complain that it's early, and then we go and rehearse on set, and
you show up early because you need longer to get ready.
Lies you tell.
I'm a bald man, so I need 5 minutes.
I could show up and put my clothes on and go to
Hold
work.
on a second. Are we actually, I'm a bit meta here. Are we watching a performance of the unicorn now? Or are we talking about the unicorn now?
You know what's great?
Like that.
What I've never been able to do is...
I don't know. Maybe if society told men they should wear makeup and high heels and Spanx, maybe they would show up an hour.
I'm wearing Spanx right now.
I would pay serious money to see these 3 do that.
But anyway, we rehearse all together, which we just read through the script and then read through the scene, and then the director blocks everything out, and then we go away while they light, and then we come in and shoot the scene and get it from a bazillion angles, because we're not a live set. We're not like a 3-cam. We're not a multi-cam. We don't have a live audience, so we get a lot of coverage. This is a big cast. We have a lot of scenes where we're sitting around doing a lot of things together, and so our days, I would say, for a comedy are probably longer than maybe others. As the season has progressed, we've all branched off into our own characters. Forrest and Delia finally have a daughter that has a face and a body that we not just talk about, but she materialized.
I actually thought that was never going to happen.
We
thought that was I thought that would work.
I thought it'd be a fun pitch too, and they said eventually we need a right story for this person. But But anyway, I'm only jumping in if anybody wants to take it away. But anyway, then we get a lot of coverage. So I would say our days are longer. We shoot anywhere between probably 12, 14, 16-hour days. So.
I don't know. I think the biggest change for me is we do this in 5 days, and for me, I've never done anything in less than 7. It's like 7 to 12, and it's not a movie. It's like a movie like every single week, only it starts over again on Monday morning. And so I'm different. I can't just read something kind of once and get it in my head and then it kind of come out and feel alive. I have to read it like 80 times. I just read it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so it's just put like my social life sucks is what I'm saying. Like I do nothing but hang out with my family and read at night before I go to bed. It's a lot.
Well, to that, we only have a few more minutes left, but we do have some questions from you guys, so I'm going to take this. So this is a question for Walton from Ken. And you've kind of answered this, but he gets a little more specific. How would you describe the break from your traditional roles and genre for what you're doing on The Unicorn? How do you prepare differently as an actor? And I just thought this was a natural kind of progression from what you were just talking about.
It's no different, really. For me, it's the exact same. I mean, I read it 250 times usually. If I have the time. And then I just turn myself over to an imaginary set of circumstances. That's just where I come from, and my teacher, and the people that I've had an opportunity to work with over the course of my career. That's just the way that I found that kind of works best for me. But it's different, really, for everybody. But like doing Vice Principals was no different than doing The Shield or Justified or anything else in The Righteous Gemstones is the exact same. You take it very, very, very seriously. It was just really intimidating like this, I think, early on because of this group of people who are their minds are so nimble and they move so quickly, and we only have 5 days to do it, so I was just trying to kind of keep up.
Something I always remember, and this is Walton perfectly embodies this, is that a teacher taught me once, like, your character doesn't know that they're in a comedy. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and that always helps me with my preparation. Yeah. You're welcome.
What's that?
You're welcome, Ken.
One thing, this is for all of you, and this is going to be our last question. This is actually from Scott A. Scott, where are you? Hey, Scott. Nice, Scott.
Hey.
Good question. Is it, and everyone jump in, figuratively. Is it challenging to build cast synergy in a short period of time? And what techniques did you use to get to know each other quickly for the show?
I'm going to jump in.
By the way, I just want to say, Scott.
I'm jumping in.
I kind of know the answer. So this is, Michaela might want to throw water again.
Well, in the way that, Rob's teacher master told him that they don't know they're in a comedy, our characters have to have known each other for a very long time. So there has to be such familiarity. And so I approach all the time. I have to be lived in, and feel lived in with the people around me. So it's about totally connecting, and having a history and picking a road and kind of carving it out. Like, I don't even know if it's the right one. I think in the pilot, I was kind of mad and kind of snarky a lot, and I realized, like, ooh, I might have launched on the wrong foot. That can be an aspect of Delia, but it can't define Delia. And so what I've realized is the more I've gotten to know people, I've worked with Rob a lot, so there's a cheat there. We've played husband and wife before, and we've been in a few things together. I haven't gotten the opportunity with these people, but I knew that because Walton assembled the best of the best, everybody came to the table with such a full being, like nobody had spinning rainbow eyes where I was like, how do I penetrate you? Everybody was just like, you know what I mean? Oh. What did I say wrong? I just mean, like, where people are,
Good.
Yeah, like everybody came to the table with such a full toolbox that I was like, oh, there's a very three-dimensional, fully realized being there that I'm just reacting to at that point. So the synergy is about that I'm just feeling as lived in as they all feel, and we get to bounce off each other.
You know, did you guys jump in here? But the very first scene that we all did together, because you don't know, it was building this dating profile for this guy Wade Felton, and we were all kind of sitting at the table.
You're at the computer, but they're all covered around you.
Yeah, and it just
and it was nice.
So
it was actually kind of a single shot for a lot of it. Yeah.
It just so happened that was kind of the first time we were all together, like working together on that day, and we did kind of the rehearsal, and it's like, oh, okay, everybody's just kind of like, here we are, and we're friends, and then we do that first take, and I'm just feeling it, thinking, oh shit, this feels really really good right now. And it was really right out of the gate, mate. I mean, it just happened that quickly. Don't you guys feel the same way?
Yes, there was no getting to know you. There was no gelling period, so it's really comfy.
Mylene, you were going to say something?
No, I mean, for me, I just tried to smile a lot and stay quiet. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous as hell. I was like, I know all these people and their resumes. I still live in anonymity, y'all. So I
probably
think
not by January.
So I definitely wanted to anchor her. I saw the energy as it was kind of written and being portrayed by everyone else, and so in the first episode, I guess I did come off a little angry-ish. So she's also toned down and become.
See, that's funny because both of you talk about the way you think your characters came across in that pilot, and I didn't think that. I didn't think that at all.
That's because you're a man.
Maybe. But it's also because I'm a man who also does this for a living, and I just feel there are those tropes as you talked earlier, and there's a cliches of female characters and male characters, and they're like, oh, it's Doofus Dad, here he comes, and like, here's Brittle Wife, here she comes, right?
Talked about Doofus Dad today, as a matter of fact.
You're still the captain.
I tried to dodge Doofus Dad today.
But I felt like there was what was there, and it's kind of like the whole premise of the Unicorn to me. There's what's there,
right,
and then there's all that's back there. It's like, any of you guys watch Doctor Who? Okay, you know the basement. You know Doctor Who's TARDIS? It's like, it's a British police box thing. It's like half the size of the stage. But the whole trick of it is you go inside it, and it's like multi-dimensional. It's like the size of the Astrodome, right? And that's what I kind of feel about the Unicorn. Like, what you're seeing on the outside is there's all this stuff inside that's coming out. Pain, love, laughter, and 6, 7 little things running around that are going to one day, like, they're going to be like, well, this is actually my show. Not your show, turns out.
Oh, no, and they've told us that it's their show. No, but then as the week progressed, having individual conversations with them and taking them on individually as opposed to in a group, not only for myself, but for the writers and stuff, they realized that, Michaela and I gel really well. And then I think we ended up taking this fake album cover picture outside of the trailer, the 5 of us, and at that point, I think that was at the end of the week, it just
initiation.
It just felt like it gelled. So for me, it was a little different. I had to kind of come out of my shell a little bit to get comfortable. Yeah.
Real quick, the last piece I want to add to that, I know we're tight on time, but I think a big piece of the gelling had to do with all of us having one degree of separation in one way or the other, which then in turn gave us all confidence in each other, which is what I think you meant by the rainbow eyes. And so when you have, it's like playing a sport. When you have confidence that the next person over can actually do what you need them to do, you can stay focused on what it is that you need to do, which makes the collective rise, Well,
I'd say you guys made this whole evening rise. This is one of the best SAG foundations I've ever been a part of. Ladies and gentlemen, the cast of The Unicorn.
Thank you, guys.
Dominic, thank you very much.